We are traveling on the Autovia 7 eastward from Malaga to our destination of Almería. As we approach the exit, we will see a sea of plastic to our left. These are part of the ubiquitous polytunnel greenhouses, which can be seen from space, producing much of the produce of Europe, and they are especially a source for tomatoes, most which are grown hydroponically. The city of Almería was founded in 955 by the Arabs, but there are sites that trace their origin to prehistoric times. Evidence is found that the Phoenicians and Romans had settlements before the Muslim Golden Age, which lasted until 1489, when the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella captured the city. Almería was a thriving port, but its role diminished as Spain sought a port closer to its new American colonies. Earthquakes, droughts, and pirates led to a depopulation of the isolated city. However, the city began to recover in the 18th century, and especially in the 19th, during the Industrial Revolution, which needed the iron from the mines of the region. The 20th century saw the rise of the modern city and the building of the Rambla de Bellin, which today covers the river that previously divided the city. Today, it is the place for the paseo for citizens and visitors alike. During the winter holiday season, the Rambla features the crowns of the three kings in anticipation of the Dia de Tres Reyes. Festive booths sell food and gifts as the people stroll through the lighted crowns in early evening, listening to the piped-in holiday music. The streets beside the Rambla feature street artists like this juggling unicyclist. The Rambla features many fountains and an obelisk. El Mercado Central is a roomy, indoor food market selling fresh fruit, vegetables, and meat, plus a basement with the freshest fish. We purchased our seafood here for our New Year's Eve dinner. The Cathedral of El Maria, under the patronage of Our Lady of the Incarnation, is a great example of defensive building of the time. It replaced the first cathedral erected in 1496 on the site of an old mosque. An earthquake completely destroyed the original cathedral in 1522. Fray Diego Fernández de Bellin, Bishop of Almería, began building this cathedral after the earthquake. It is one of the only cathedral fortresses of its kind in Spain. Solid buttresses, flanking towers, thick walls, the lack of windows all add to the feeling of starkness and strength against possible invaders. Internally, the cathedral features works by Alonso Cano, Murillo, and Ribera. At the top of Cerro de San Cristobal stands the statue of the Sacred Heart, protecting the city of Almería and all of her inhabitants. The statue sits at a picturesque viewpoint where both the city and sea are simply breathtaking. Looking towards the sea, the Hiran Wall begins at the Alcazaba, then descends into the ravine Barranco de La Hoya. The wall reaches up to the Cerro de San Cristobal and continues on as the remains of the walled area of the Musaya neighborhood. The Barranco de Hoya is also home to the experimental farm La Hoya, which began as a research center. Its task, finding new advances in agriculture. In 1971, its objective changed to protect the endangered ungulates of the Spanish Sahara colony. Today, one can view 4 species: Cuvier's gazelle, Saharan Dorcas gazelle, Saharan ruin, and the lady gazelle. The gazelles are bred to increase the population size and to ensure future viability by increasing genetic variety. Eventually, it is hoped that the ungulates will repopulate their natural habitat. We went to see the Alcazaba above the city and looked at the beautiful scenery of the sea and the city before us. The yellow building to the left of Larry abuts the brown building where our apartment was located, just below the Alcazaba. The link to this apartment is in the details of this video. El Cable Inglés, also known as El Quife Dock, is a former ore loading area belonging to the El Quife Mines and Railway Company Limited. This example of iron architecture, following the guidelines of Gustav Eiffel's school, was completed in 1904. Its design allowed deep water ships to easily dock. Trains would release their ore to the lower tier by gravity, and then ore was directly conveyed to the waiting ship's hold. It is classified as a site of cultural interest of Andulsia and is in the process of a long renewal. Building started in the 10th century of the Alcazaba. Over time, 3 different sections were constructed, 2 by Muslim rulers and the 3rd by the Catholic monarchs in 1489. The first section features gardens and ponds. The second is a vast palace of the Muslim era, where living quarters of the residents are recreated, seen in the 2 doorways. The 3rd section features the keep, where a huge water wheel was used to raise the water, and a place to store gunpowder. Water is a very important part of Muslim construction in Spain. The ability to harness water from the melting snows and bring it to the dry, arid lands allowed the creation of extensive gardens and fountains, as well as providing a source of water for humans, livestock, and agriculture. As we waited for a delicious seafood lunch at the Restaurante Parque, we noted the stealthy arrival of members of the feline persuasion. They look with anticipation as dishes arrived. More and more cats appeared. Even at the Alcazaba, we found several very independent-minded cats. We watched as they haughtily pranced through the rooms. On New Year's Day, we drove 30 kilometers from Almería to the Cabo de Gata Natural Park. We started our adventure at the village of San Miguel de Cabo de Gata, stopping to see the salt flats stretching into the Mediterranean, where a plethora of wildlife abounds. Driving towards the lighthouse, we follow the salt flats until we reach a windy, hilly road to the lighthouse, surrounded by beaches, mountains, and the Sirens Rocks offshore. The location of the lighthouse of Cabo de Gata is where southeastern Spain ends. After our visit to the lighthouse, we drive inland through the fields until we reach the village of San Jose, considered the capital of the national park, even though it has a population of 800. We had a delicious New Year's lunch at one of the restaurants along the beach promenade. As we returned to Malaga, we stopped at the town of Nerja to see the beautiful Balcon de Europa, nestled between the azure Mediterranean Sea and the mountains of Andulsia. The balcony separates two beautiful beaches, El Salón and Cala Honda. We stopped by the terrace of the Little Italy restaurant for a delicious pizza lunch before our return.